Whoa, okay, Doctor Strange trailer, I'm gonna need you to calm all the way down here. Or maybe I need to calm down. Okay, you got it. Goose Fraba. Holy shit! If you have not seen the new Multiverse of Madness trailer, then do yourself a favor. Go check that out right now, then come back and watch this because you'll have a much bigger understanding of what it is I'm trying to talk about here. There is so much in that trailer that I want to talk about with you, and I'm going to have more videos past this point that speculate some things coming up in this movie. But for now, there's one thing in particular that I would like to focus on, and it's probably the moment within the trailer that made my jaw drop the most, which was hearing the voice of an all too familiar, iconic character.
We should tell him the truth. We should tell him the truth. We should tell him the truth.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Sir Patrick Stewart as Professor X is in the MCU now. Now, whether he's going to be the Professor X that we saw in the X-Men films or a variant version of such is still up for discussion, but if I had to throw in an educated guess, I'd very much say that I'm leaning towards the fact that he's a variant Professor X. Something tells me that they don't really want to mess with the Fox timeline that they already have established in the past, especially with the way they ended things with Logan for his character, and I think that we're just going to see a fresh new take on Professor Xavier in this. And why is he there? Who is he with? What are those other chairs that are alongside of him in this trailer? Let's go ahead and start to talk about that. Now, for those of you that may not be aware, there is something known as the Illuminati within the Marvel Comics. Basically, they're like the top members of each of the groups, such as the Avengers, the X-Men, Fantastic Four, that all come together to kind of be like, the government of superheroes, if you will. Long story short, there have been massive rumors for a while now that the Illuminati is going to be popping up in Multiverse of Madness, and this is putting an interesting spin on it because in the comics, the Illuminati is not a multiversal group put together, but it does seem that's the way that they're going within this movie here. So, Professor X from the Fox X-Men universe or not, who else are we going to see sit alongside him? Well, my first guess is definitely a fan favorite casting that has been rumored for a long time now. A lot of what I'm talking about is just rumors that have been going on for a long time, and that is John Krasinski as Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic. Fans have been clamoring to see John as this character and his wife Emily Blunt as Sue Storm, and I don't necessarily think that we're going to see her in this movie, or sadly at all as that character, because one of the things that seems to have kept them away from actually signing on officially for quite some time now is the big contracts that come along with it. I mean, signing up for anything with Marvel at this point is probably a contract of some large kind, but especially if you're signing on to be two of the members of the Fantastic Four, you're probably like signing the rest of your lives away. So it does make sense as to why they've been hesitant to jump on the MCU train, so to speak, and I don't think that they actually have. What I believe is going on in this situation is basically that John Krasinski has signed on to play Reed Richards with a bit of a contingency. There seems to be a lot hinting at the fact that this multiversal Illuminati will be facing off against Wanda at some point, who I would put money on is the villain of this film. And if that actually does end up happening, it seems like all the rumors are pointing to her wiping the group out, which is kind of like the perfect out for these actors if they were to go ahead and be in these roles. For example, I don't picture that Patrick Stewart is going to stick around past this point as the Professor X for the MCU. I really think this is just a way of introducing the idea of mutants into the MCU, but I don't picture that he himself will stick around. We're going to get our own Professor X probably at some point. And I picture it being the same thing with Mr. Fantastic. I could easily see a situation where John Krasinski decided to join on for just this one film, have some fun with the role, and if anything, maybe that's like testing the waters, right? Give him a chance to go and have that easy out, and if we feel like it was something that everybody loves the character as much as we thought we'd love him in that, then maybe that's that much more convincing power to bring him and maybe even Emily into the picture later on. But as of right now, I totally see this as a situation where he's just going to do this as a one and done. And on that same note of a one and done, which I actually feel like all the members of this Illuminati would go and fit into that description, that's what perfectly transitions to my next guess, which would actually be Tom Cruise as a variant Tony Stark, aka Iron Man. Now, this one has been rumored for a long time, and actually started way before this movie, and that's because when the first Iron Man was being made, Tom Cruise is one of the names that was being thrown around in the mix as to who is going to play Tony Stark before Robert Downey Jr. took the role. Taking that into consideration and now having this opportunity that they do with this movie, this, just like my situation with John Krasinski, would be the perfect opportunity for him to just step in, have a good time with it, and then know it's a one and done type situation. Now, the next few members that I have to throw into the mix here, I don't really have full-blown castings for, and that's just because there's not really any big fan choices for it, and I haven't really thought of too much to go along with it. But the next person that I think is actually going to be a member of this Illuminati is Black Panther. Now, interestingly enough, Black Panther was considered to be a member of the Illuminati in the comics, as he and Iron Man were kind of the first two to put the idea together, but he ended up turning the idea down. However, we've seen many times in the past that the movies love to do it a little bit differently than the comics every now and again, and I think that this is actually their perfect chance to go ahead and give a soft introduction into the concept of recasting T'Challa. Not our T'Challa, but to take another one from a different universe and have him come into the fold. I haven't the slightest clue what they are doing with Wakanda Forever, whether it's Shuri, M'Baku, people are talking about Killmonger coming back to be the new Black Panther, and whatever they do, they do. I hope that they pull it off well, and I'm looking forward to it. But this is really something that I imagine that they're going to take this in the direction of T'Challa as Black Panther being a member of this group, and if that is the case, then obviously we have no other choice but then to grab him from a different universe. I don't really have any concrete picks on who I think would be good to play him. I know there's plenty of people that probably could, but leave a comment down below on who you think would be good to be a new Black Panther. Next up on the list of this roster that we got going here, I imagine would be Black Bolt. Now, Black Bolt is a name that I imagine some people may be familiar with, but not be too sure as to why, and that's probably because of the crappy Inhuman show that they put out not too long ago. I mean, I can only speak on it so much. I never actually watched it, and I don't know if I ever will. That's the project that kind of gave the Inhumans a bad rep in the first place. However, I think this is the opportunity for the MCU to take that, put its own spin on it, and actually make it what it in turn should be. Now, this is going off of the logic that Black Bolt from the comics is a member of the Illuminati, so I can't see why it would be any different here. And even though it's like, whoa, man, you're already throwing X-Men, Fantastic Four, now you want to throw Inhumans into the mix here? Yes. Yes, I do. Because I don't feel like they're holding back with this one at all. This totally feels like they're balls to the wall, do whatever the hell we want, multiverse is open, let's go type of approach here. And if that really is the case, then it kind of seems like what other better time than to go ahead and throw the Inhumans into the mix. I don't imagine that we're all of a sudden going to start to tackle the entire subject matter of the Inhumans and literally start to see the whole group of them brought into the mix as well, but I feel that way with the X-Men. I don't think that just because Professor X is going to be there means we're going to get the entirety of the X-Men, and same thing with the Fantastic Four and so on and so forth. I think we're just going to get these main members to introduce the concepts of these groups to realize that, hey, it's not just the Avengers that exist, there's different groups of superheroes everywhere. And that leaves us with only one more pick, and honestly I'm a bit torn on this one because there are two good choices that I see that it could be. I'm going to go ahead and kind of discuss both. One is not my pick though, and that's Namor. If you're not aware, Namor is basically Marvel's Aquaman. He's the ruler of Atlantis and a member of the Illuminati in the comics as well. Now, I know I just threw out the comment about, yeah, why not throw everything into the mix, but I do feel like the introduction of this may be a little bit much. I'm still down for it. I'm not saying that I'm against the prospect of them throwing him in here, but I could see where maybe they would angle it towards what my actual pick is, and that's just another variant of Doctor Strange. Now, whether this is another Benedict Cumberbatch or not, I have no idea. We've already seen that there's Strange Supreme from What If in here, so I wouldn't be surprised if we just basically saw Benedict Cumberbatch with like another haircut. I think there's a cut from him in the trailer with like slick back hair, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's that version of him that is a part of this Illuminati group. Or it could just be someone entirely different that is just cast to play Doctor Strange for just this one particular role. But nonetheless, whatever the reasoning may be, I do feel like that is the more logical way to go, to have another Doctor Strange in this group already, and when they bring our Doctor Strange in front of them, kind of a reason as to why they're more open to telling him what's going on here, since one of him is already in the group. Now, even speculating on all the members that may be a part of this group, I still see it being a situation, as I've mentioned a couple times already, that Wanda will end up wiping out like the majority, if not all, of this Illuminati. And I think that the end of Multiverse of Madness could easily be a situation where our Doctor Strange feels the obligation to kind of go and reform this Illuminati, so that he'll kind of dive through the multiverse and see if he can find another Professor X, another Mr. Fantastic, to rebuild this group and put it back together because he realizes the importance of its existence. If he does that, that perfectly opens the door as to why the X-Men, Fantastic Four, Inhumans, so on and so forth, would be able to come in and join the fold of the MCU without this feeling of, where the hell have they been this entire time? So past that theory and the people that I've mentioned, I have a few honorable mentions of, I don't really think this would be the people to show up, but hey, you know what? Let's just throw out some guesses out there for fun. One would be a variant of Bruce Banner. He just kind of seems like out of all the other heroes that would fit as part of this group that I could actually see him being in there, and I think it'd actually be hilarious if we got Edward Norton to be that variant Bruce Banner. I don't know what the chances are of him agreeing to that, but that would be phenomenal. And my other honorable mention that I see as a complete shot in the dark and then some is a variant of Victor Von Doom, aka Dr. Doom. Now, if they were to do this, I think it'd be really cool if he was like playing it off that he was a good guy this whole time to trick the entirety of the Illuminati, only to reveal his master plan at the end of how he wants to take over the entirety of the multiverse. And the only other reason I throw him in as a guess, other than the fact that it's just a fun guess, is because I do picture that we are going to see Dr. Doom to some extent in the MCU much sooner than later. I don't picture them bringing in the Fantastic Four and not having him right alongside them. Plus, even aside from the Fantastic Four, Dr. Doom is just one of the biggest villains across all of Marvel, so, bring him on in, would you? But taking all that into consideration and knowing I want to talk so much more about this movie, but I'm going to hold off until other videos, let me know down below what your thoughts are. Do you agree with my choices here and think those are the members of this multiversal Illuminati that we're going to get? Or do you have some other choices that you think are even better that you want to throw into the mix? Or maybe it's just a matter of the castings. Maybe you don't think it's Tom Cruise that's going to be a variant Iron Man. You think it's going to be somebody else. Forget John Krasinski as Reed Richards. You think it's going to be, again, somebody else. I don't know who to throw into the mix there. I'll leave that up to you. Comment down below. Like this video if you enjoyed this theory / content or whatever it is that we want to call this and chalk it up to. Subscribe and hit that notifications bell. You know, all the good stuff that we normally do. And anyway, I'll catch you at the next video.